we will be sending a copy of the recording along with contact information at the end of the webinar. So thank you again, and we'll just go ahead and get started. So we went through the housekeeping, and just want to make a special introduction for Don Jager, Director of Partner Recruiting at Acumatica. Don, would you like to say hello?
Oh, absolutely. It's always a thrill to be able to sponsor these. We really appreciate the opportunity to do that, and I know the partners and prospective partners that have attended these in the past, I think they've gotten a lot out of them, so thank you for providing the good content.
It's my pleasure. I love what I do, and we have Buck Flather with HubSpot with us. Buck, thank you so much for joining us and adding your inbound marketing expertise to this webinar. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure, absolutely. I don't have a fun picture. We're going to have to work on that, Dawn. I think we need fun pictures like Adrian has up there of her attacking the mountain.
Yeah, I agree.
But as Dawn echo her sentiments of happy to be here. Definitely like the sessions. I would encourage people to ask questions, raise your hand as we go throughout things. If we're talking about stuff that may be new to you or an acronym that you may not recognize or any concepts, just let us know. We're happy to go off and answer anything that we can and make sure everything is clear as possible. But thank you for having me, Adrian.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for adding your insight. So here's just an introduction to ERP VAR and who we are and all of our expertise or experience with the ERP marketplace. So basically ERP VAR, my partner Kathy Graham and I have been working in this marketplace for over 19 years. We're both channel managers over at Sage Software for a number of years, and Kathy worked over at Avalara from 2006 to 2008. I worked for a channel partner and also several channel partners under his umbrella from 2005 to 2009 when I started to think, I think these partners could benefit from extra sales and marketing assistance. So we started Sales Optimization Solutions in 2009. And then in 2012, we put together ERP VAR so that everybody could benefit from one community marketplace and providing their expert material via our guest blog. So that's where VARs publish their blogs on our guest blog, and they have their links within their blogs. And we send those blogs out to our network of ERP VARs who have allowed us so graciously to publish our content through their social profiles. So that gives each blog a greater reach in the social media universe. And then there's a better possibility of being attracted to like Tech Target websites or PM Stack Exchange that have high page rank that reference the blogs that our guest bloggers, our ERP VARs, share with our website. So that gives ERPVAR.com more search engine optimization for those keywords that those blogs consist of, and just greater reach in the social media, because the whole goal behind blogging is to be found and to provide that content that's going to win the mind share of your target market as an expert. So some of our clients are V Technology, Scanco, APS Merchants, which is American Payment Solutions, Clients First, E2B Technologies, and obviously this work that we're doing here with Acumatica. So here's the agenda. So we're talking about 7 basic tips for ERP VAR inbound marketing. So it's very important to have fresh website content. So continuing to publish new content to your website, making sure that your press releases, your news page reflect new news, your blogs reflect new blogs, and that you stick with a unified branding message, that you really resonated with your target market. You know the verticals that you're trying to penetrate, and that you have that consistent branding messages across those target markets, and that you're not mixing messages on what your brand is all about, and the importance of that consistent publishing to other sites as well. So other sites like maybe you're doing a press release, so you write a press release about the same type of content that you're blogging about. Maybe you signed on a customer and you want to brag about that in a press release, and you talk about why that customer benefited from your solution, and that's the same type of messaging that you're publishing out there on your blog. So it's important to use different forms of media too, not just social media, but perhaps direct mail, not just email marketing, but just different ways to reach out to your market. And Buck, did you have any insight here? I know that there's a lot of insight that HubSpot can offer from a standpoint of the different kinds of media to use.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going along a nice tangent here, or track, right? Where if you think about really what makes inbound marketing work, it's really that content, right? That good, consistent content. Really, the way I view social media is, how do I expand the reach of that content, right? How do I get that in front of more and more folks that would find it valuable? So just publishing it on my blog and on my website isn't enough. You really want to leverage all the means possible, whether that's guest posts, whether that's leveraging social, publishing it out through your management team's social networks. All really important things to consider and to be active on.
And maybe, there's some enthusiast publications that you can be represented in for that particular target market. So anywhere you can reach your target market that you might not be reaching them with your current forms of media, you just have to think of where that target market lives and try and get in front of their eyeballs at every opportunity. And it's not just going to be one thing like social media. It'll be a combination of tools that you could use to get in front of your audience. So it's also very important. We're going to be talking about sales and marketing alignment. When do you introduce sales? And how important is it for sales to report back to marketing so that everybody can understand the proper measurement and the tactics that are being successful? And it's extremely important to have that two-way communication with sales and marketing. So we're going to be talking about nurturing prospects through the buying funnel, and how that nurturing prospects is important to have sales and marketing talking back and forth so that you know that the prospects are moving through the buying funnel. And we're also going to be talking about measuring what's working and what's not. So the first point on our agenda, we're going to be talking about the importance of fresh, new, targeted website content. And this I pulled from a blog from HubSpot. HubSpot did some research, and it looks like last year, Forrester Research reported that 33% of B2B marketers cite that it's very challenging to deliver targeted content at the right time to the right people. That's their biggest challenge. So, how to get your content in front of your target audience, well, that's why it's really important to be consistently publishing new content, because you want to be in front of your target when the opportunity should present itself, and they might not always be where you're publishing your content. So you want to be publishing it to guest blogs, you want to be writing press releases, you want to be going to trade shows, you want to, just make sure you're everywhere you can be to communicate with your target market.
So just two things on that. Well, one, I used to work at Forrester Research as well, so it's funny that you put them up there. But I think one of the things here is, and I think you have some content on this a little bit further on in the presentation, but it's also about being testing, right? Always be looking at the data of what you're doing to make sure that it's working, right? So delivering the right content is the first piece in this little puzzle. The way you're going to know that you're delivering the right content to your target audience or the people, the personas that you want to stay in front of, is to look at their digital body language, right? Are they actually going on and consuming it? Are they forwarding it? Are they linking to it? All of these things you want to be able to be tracking on a real-time basis to give you the indication of, hey, am I going down the right track or aren't I? Should I be taking a different slant at this or a different approach with the content I'm creating?
And is my content getting indexed in the search engines? And what can I do to help my content get indexed in the search engines? Because if you're doing all of these things correctly on the internet, if we're just talking about the internet, the social media syndication, the blogs, if you're writing them with the proper on-page SEO, and then you're getting in front of the right eyeballs off-page, and they're consuming your content with referencing it in their own content, then that's when you can start to see that you might be getting a lot more traffic from the search engines than you're getting from any other means, because the search engines have picked up your content too. So that's another area that's key, because when people are searching for things, they usually go to the search engines, and if your content is there, then you'll probably have many more website visitors. And then if you have the right messaging on your website for those people who have found you because of the right content you've delivered to social media and that right content that's been indexed in the search engines, now they found what they're looking for. Now they come to your website, and then your right call to action buttons are resonating with them. Then now they're converting into prospects that you can actually talk to. So that's the name of the game, and that is what is the biggest challenge. So we must present that consistent, targeted, unified branding message. So before you publish new content, you just be sure to understand each of your unique buyer personas, those people who are visiting your website, the people who you want to talk to, the people who you want to buy your service, and your expertise. So in order to communicate with somebody, you have to listen and understand their interests, goals, so that you can resonate with them when their eyeballs are on your content.
I think just on this one, just with buyer personas here, Adrian, I think it's important to note that a lot of times people think about buyer personas as their target customer as the person that essentially ends up buying the solution or signing the check, right? Where they may really need to be talking to and creating content for the influencers in the discussion. Somebody that actually may be using the piece of technology or may not be the end decision maker, but is very impactful in that process. And they also need to get their questions answered throughout the buying process. So you want to think about all the different players as buyer personas that come into that process.
That is a great point. So the importance of consistent targeted publishing on other sites. So don't just stay on your own site. Don't just be going to your own parties. You want to be talking with others and, going to other parties. And I like to use that as an analogy because if you just stay, at your own company and talk to your own company, that's not going to be as effective as if you go to other companies and talk to other companies, your targeted companies, so that you can establish that business relationship. So if you can partner with other companies that might supplement what you do, maybe for an ERP VAR, it's a warehouse management solution, it's a shipping solution, it's one of those third-party applications that enhance the product that you sell. So you want to be publishing to their websites, maybe guest blogging for them. And a lot of times those third-party websites have a higher page rank than the typical channel partner because, they have more marketing resources. They publish more frequently to their website. So it's good to partner with other companies and publish your material on their websites. And what that does is causes off-page SEO. And if you're consistent with the material and your vertical target and you just stick with that message, that messaging, that unified branding message, and you're getting in front of new parts of your target market by guest blogging or by publishing material on the third-party websites, for example, that you might work with. Those are definitely your target market because you implement those enhancements with your customers, with your current customers. So the higher the page rank of those other partner websites, the better for you, the more chance for you to get indexed in the search engines once again, because the search engines are going to be the greatest source of your traffic and the best result of somebody coming to your website as a result of a search engine because they found what they're looking for. And if it's ERP, they're doing a lot of research. And if your website stands out as the expert on the topic that they found you for, then you've immediately established credibility with them. And those types of leads, when they convert, are going to go through the sales cycle, the buyer's journey, much faster.
Yeah, and I think to add to your first analogy of kind of the cocktail party, right? You guys had a networking event last night, right? And nobody likes to talk to the guy that shows up and essentially says, "Hi, how are you? Do you want to talk about me?" And really, what you want to do with this content and the way that you're going to be able to get it onto these third-party sites is not talk about your own business, but talk about the challenges that your target audience is facing and how they might want to solve them. How they, you always want to be helping. You want it to be less about you, more about them.
That is an excellent point. I try to use that on my 13-year-old boy as much as possible. You always want to be helping, but that's that's human nature, right? We should always want to be helping. We shouldn't want to just be in it for ourselves. And that will transcend into your message if that is truly your intention is, I just want to be helping. Like with this webinar, I just want to be helping. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm just trying to pass along information that I've learned and became educated on so that I can service my clients. And, hopefully this type of content is helpful to the audience.
Yeah.
So using different forms of targeted media. Our fourth point here. So in our research, 4 out of 5 marketers say that their email open rates don't exceed 20%, and that's going down. So you can't just stick with email marketing anymore. So you need to be finding your prospects in other places. So social media, paid retargeting, dynamic website content, trade shows. And then, when do we introduce those direct salespeople into the communication? And that can be unique to any individual company when you want to decide to bring the sales people in. You might want to bring the salespeople in immediately to somebody that might have filled out a form on your website because you want to have that, immediate reaction to them. Or some want to have a more strategic introduction to sales. Buck, can you talk a little bit about HubSpot? You guys have grown so much, and do you have a methodology of when your salespeople get introduced to an opportunity? Is it, after a couple touches, a couple form conversions? How does it work over there?
Yeah, so the way we'll go through it is we leverage HubSpot, obviously, and we actually go through a ranking or scoring system for all of our leads, right? And we have different stages. So we have just a straight visitor, somebody that fills out a form for us instantly turns into a lead, and then they'll go into what's called a marketing qualified lead. And marketing qualified lead, they have to do some event or take some action, whether that's fill out a form or request something from us, and that request needs to be of a certain importance for us, and that will instantly trigger something to the rep that's assigned to that lead to say, hey, you know what, this is the action these guys just took. Here's how we would suggest you follow up with them. But follow up with them ASAP, right? Because they're showing signals that they want to talk to somebody. We have sales qualified leads. We have request a demo. So all of these things we have different ways that we're going to be following up with them, and you kind of want to be very consistent with that. I think you're again going to talk about some things here in a little bit, but at HubSpot we actually have an SLA, a service level agreement between our marketing department and our sales department. And if marketing's going to work their butt off and create really good leads for our sales department, well, they can't just put in a voicemail to them and then toss them back over the fence and say, hey, these guys didn't buy, so this lead was really crappy. They need to work that lead to a certain extent, and that's mutually agreed upon. That means several follow-ups and hopefully conversations before they put it into one bucket or another. So there's that whole process that really needs to be determined. And Adrian had talked about it. Where's the alignment between sales and marketing these days, right? It's really they need to be lockstep, right? There should be no wall or barrier between sales and marketing. In fact, at HubSpot we actually call it schmarketing, and we have a biweekly meeting where we update the entire sales and marketing departments on exactly what's happening, where things are at in that given 2-week span. So it's really, really important for both sales and marketing to be on the same page, and you can't have any issues that sales thinks marketing sucks because they're not hitting their numbers, and marketing thinks the salespeople are lazy. So different ball game these days, I think.
So none of that finger pointing, just teamwork.
Exactly. Everybody has the same goal in mind, right?
Exactly. So, and then dynamic website content, that's another thing that you can use as well, and it's based on the target market. So maybe you want a website visitor, different website visitors to see different website content. Well, you can tell if a website visitor has come in and filled out a couple forms. When they come back in, maybe after the second conversion, that you want to show them something a little bit different that is further along typically in the buyer's journey, and we'll talk about the buyer's journey and what types of content that we might want to deliver at different steps of the buyer's journey. But using website tools like, I mean, I'm not meaning to plug HubSpot, but we've got Buck here with HubSpot. HubSpot is an excellent tool, one of a few tools out there that allows you to deliver website content based on who's coming into your website and who's visiting your website and what they visited before, and then what type of content might help push them further down into the buyer's journey. You can also do some paid retargeting so that anyone who's ever visited your website, you're displaying your ads in YouTube, Google, because they came to your website, you know that they're your target market, so now you follow them, either you have cookies that follow them all over wherever they're visiting, and they can click on your call to action button and come back to a specific page that that prospect should see, and hopefully that might push them further into the buyer's journey by converting on a new form that now maybe sales is ready to be introduced because their lead score just went up from 40 to 50, and that's what you've determined for your company. That's when sales is introduced. So lots of different ways to stay in front of your audience. So we talked about sales and marketing alignment and when to introduce sales. And here's a couple points that we found in our research. It takes an average of 10 marketing touches from the time the buyer enters the top of a funnel until they're a customer. So I look at webinars, attending webinars and I love having these webinars, and I think that webinars are a super effective way for, not only us to communicate with our target market, but third-party solutions like warehouse management solutions, or even ERP systems like Acumatica, to educate the audience about their solution and how it helps solve problems for their target market. I look at somebody coming in or just registering for a webinar is the very top of the buyer's journey, right? So they've come to one webinar, they've been impressed upon a couple times and with the email, and then going to the landing page, and then maybe they won't come to another webinar for a few months. So, that's the fourth and the fifth marketing touch for us. So it does take around 10 marketing touches for our customers or our prospects to turn into customers. So you need to always be publishing material to stay in front of them and not give up. And according to our research here, 49% of marketers include less than 5 touches in their lead nurturing program. So they just give up. And a lot of ERP resellers that, are in this business, we've witnessed, they'll jump from one provider to another. They'll think that something doesn't work. They'll jump ship. But it's really, in reality, you just have to be patient, and you have to produce the content so that you can stay in front of your audience, because it's really hard to stay in front of your audience. But if you have a consistent program, you're going to stay in front of your audience. And it's super important, I think, especially in the ERP market, to follow up quickly, especially in sales. So if you have, somebody that's called you or that's emailed you, and they're definitely looking to buy something, we as ERP sales folks need to jump on the phone right away, because you're going to have 21 times better odds to foster that prospect if you can contact them within 5 minutes of their inquiry. If you wait for 30 minutes or more after, then chances are your competitors have reached this prospect, and you've all of that effort that you've put into your marketing is for naught. So that's when somebody calls and says, hey, I want you to call me back, or sends an email to your info email address saying, please call me. You just have to follow up timely, or your chances of losing the prospect are pretty great.
Yeah, I think a lot of that information right there, Adrian, goes and speaks directly to the way that things have changed over the past years, right? Where it used to be that salesperson essentially held all of the cards, all of the information, all of the knowledge that the end prospect was trying to get at, and they had to go through that salesperson in order to get at that information. Now really what they're looking at is they're looking at the marketer to be able to provide them and arm them with all of the information, because it should be readily available out there online, and they expect it to be available out there online. And really where they're actually needing the sales reps' help is at the very bottom of that process, right? Once they're ready to pick up the phone and start talking pricing and things like that, that's when your sales reps need to be dialed in and follow up in near real time as possible, and to really make them feel valued.
And so to continue on with that, we need to nurture our prospects through the buying funnel. This is number 6 on our list. So how do you do that? Well, there's a few ways you can do that. Using tools, again, like HubSpot or some of the other solutions out there. You can score your contacts within your contact database. You don't even need to use an inbound marketing tool. It's just easier. So scoring your contacts within your contact database. So maybe somebody that just comes right into the top of the buyer's funnel, maybe their score is 20. So, they're just sitting out there, they're in your target market, but they haven't really responded to anything. Maybe they've opened a couple emails, but that's it. They haven't filled out any conversion forms. They may have inquired a couple of years ago for something else, but they're just sitting out in your contact database and they have a score of 20. So when one of those scores of 20 comes back to your website, 3 or 4 times, and then you see that they're interested in some pages that you have on your website, then their score increases. So lead scoring helps us determine which leads should be followed up with directly by a sales rep. So once that lead score, once they sign up for a couple more webinars, and they communicate their pain with you, then that might be a time that you give them a score of 50, and that can be automated within the system too. And that will determine that the sales rep should follow up with that particular opportunity at that time. So it just helps us determine what kind of nurture activity the prospect should receive next in the buyer's journey. Maybe they just signed up for a webinar, so we're going to send them a white paper a week later relevant to the webinar that they just signed up for. So because they're still in the top of the funnel. So we're not introducing a salesperson yet. It's up to you and your organization to strategize and determine, when their lead score reaches a point that you want to introduce the salesperson. And, that's unique to each organization. So here's just a pretty picture about the stages of the buyer's journey. So when they're coming in to something like a webinar, they're probably interested. They're, at the interest level, and they want to be educated by a webinar. Or, if you have a white paper or a call to action out on your website, that's they're in the interest stage. When there's a problem that's been acknowledged, webinars still are good to stay in front of that prospect, to educate them about how to relieve that problem. And this is where we want them to get to, right? Looking for a solution. So that would be one-on-one presentations, sending out follow-up information relevant to the solution that they're looking for. You want to give them maybe some customer success stories, offer some competitive intelligence about your solution, but this is where we're trying to get them to, and once they communicate with us that they're looking for a solution, then we can help them differentiate on why they should choose us. So measure what's working. And Buck, I wanted to go ahead and let you kind of talk through this because you have some great ideas around why measurement is important and effective measurement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big differentiator, right? If you look at 10 years ago, the marketing of 10 years ago, it was, all right, what are we going to do? We're going to do some snail mail, direct mail. We're going to go to a bunch of trade shows, and the marketer's real role was creating, marketing slicks and collateral for those trade shows. And measuring the effectiveness of that was more of a gut feel. It was more of an art, right? Now, a marketer is really judged in gold on the number of leads you're creating. And you need to be able to measure all the different pieces. She has webinars, white papers, pay-per-clicks, trade shows, download documentation. So it's all of these different pieces you should be able to, A, set goals against, and B, in real time, be able to measure the impact or the increase or decrease that is happening in each of those segments. And if you can't, then it's really kind of going back to the old, well, my gut says that trade show was worth it because the phone seemed to ring a little bit more after we went up, or we got 2 deals in after we went to that trade show. Having no idea where those 2 deals actually originated or where that interest came from, it's really hard to attribute it back. So really measuring what's working and where things are coming gives you as a marketer and a business person the direction to then say, hey, this is the type of stuff I should do more of because I know that this paid off, or this type of topic is resonating with my target audience. I should create more of that type of content. So that whole measurement and keeping tabs is a big differentiator between the old kind of traditional playbook and the inbound marketing kind of digital content marketing, whatever you want to call it, kind of new way of thinking about things.
And I'm just using a couple of our clients just as an example. V Technologies, for example, we've created a whole library of video demonstrations on their YouTube channel, and we've created really strong call to actions on their web pages that have been optimized for shipping software. So for instance, they're #1 in Google for Dynamics shipping software, Dynamics GP shipping software, Sage shipping software. So they get a ton of search engine optimized traffic coming into their websites, and they get 4 to 10 new web conversions just by clicking on that that strong call to action button that we have on all the pages that are searching have been getting a lot of search engine traffic, which we can see from our measurement tools that those pages are optimized. Those are where the call to action buttons are placed, and those call to action buttons are just simple buttons. Learn 7 reasons why. I don't even remember what the button says, but it's just a basic button, and it says watch now, and they get 6 to 10 conversions off of those video download requests a day. So, but how did they get there? They started there in 2012, started creating their video catalog on YouTube, publishing videos consistently, always having shipping software in the title, always having shipping software on the page that that the YouTube video was linked back to. Shipping software was in the title. Shipping software was in the meta description. And the same with the video, and that caused them to get search engine optimization, and now we're using those same videos as a call out button to watch the videos now, and they're just getting overwhelmed with opportunities coming into their website. They send an automatic email after somebody converts off that video, and it comes from Caroline Walsh, who's the principal sales. She's the vice president of sales and marketing. They get an email directly from her, and then she starts dialogues with them, and then just jumps right into video demonstrations, or a demonstration based on the customer's need just from that video download request. But that took, a few years to build that kind of traction up in the search engines and with all the referral websites to resonate with the target market when they come in to actually click a button, fill out a form, watch the videos. And it's beautiful because you can tell which interface the prospect wants to watch. So that you know which salesperson should follow up with that prospect. So it's having that strategy, but having that constant content that you're publishing. And with them, it was more on the video side rather than the blogging side, but it's really worked for them. And that's just an example. But you can also, of what's working for them, obviously. And then you can also do the same thing with guest blogging. If you found that you're converting a lot of leads because you're publishing blogs on one particular website because that audience is your target audience, and one particular type of lead will come off, will convert from that particular audience, then you found something that's working, so stick with it. Press releases. Now that's something that you can really strategize on, writing press releases and having the right links in the press releases, going to the right pages on your website to convert that reader into prospects. And you can measure if that's working. So it's just, I think, the message here is it's so important to measure so that you know what to consistently put out there and that you're not spinning your wheels. And I think that's our last point. We want to maintain that routine publishing schedule. So we want to make sure that we adhere to our goals when we set off to do our content and to create our content. We want to make sure that we're publishing it regularly and also sending it through as many social media profiles as possible. And it needs to be compelling, right? So we can get that high page rank authority websites to reference back to our blog if the content is compelling enough for them to use it to reinforce the point that they're making on their own blog. So it's important to have that compelling content too, not only for your target audience to know that you're the authority in this arena, but that other websites that want to maintain their authority as an expert in that field, they're pointing to your blog because it reinforces the point that they're trying to make. So examples of those types of websites I mentioned earlier are PM Stack Exchange, Tech Target, Software Advice, those long-standing, highly authoritative websites looking at your content and saying, hey, yeah, this is a great article. I want to publish a similar article and reference to this article. And they might not have been able to see that unless you publish that your blog originally to, multiple social media profiles or something of that nature where they can actually see that content was there. And so in summary, we want to publish consistently with that consistent message to our target market And we want to make sure we're speaking back and forth with marketing and sales so that they're aligned on the same page, on the same team, so that sales can communicate back to marketing, hey, maybe, that didn't work, so maybe that certain tactic didn't work so well. We might have gotten a lot of conversions, but they didn't really seem to go anywhere. Let's do something else. And then so that marketing knows what sales are closing. So sales needs to report back to marketing somehow, maybe in the CRM, that sale did close, and that sale did close as a result of all these marketing activities. So maybe we want to continue on with those same types of marketing activities, but marketing would never know that those marketing activities worked so well unless there was some mechanism for sales to report back to marketing that series of marketing messages really worked to close this prospect. And so maybe you want to apply that same type of marketing campaign that resulted in a closure to all of the leads that have that same sales score in your database, to get more of those leads to close. So the only way you can do that, right, is to measure. So you have to be measuring. So here is my contact information. And as I said, we did record this webinar, and we will be sending this webinar out to everybody. And if you have any questions, we would just ask that you click on that question mark button, and a dialog box will open up, and you can indicate your question. We do have a couple polls we'd like to ask the audience. So I have a first poll here. Are you interested in learning more about ERP VAR, what we do, and how we might be able to help you as a channel partner? So I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. If I could get the audience to take a second to answer that. And Buck and Don, did you have any thoughts closing here?
I was going to let Dawn go. We haven't heard much from Dawn, but
and I was on mute. So okay, good. I'm here. No, I really agree with that. And one of the things I was thinking as you were summarizing is one of the things that we try to do for our partners too is not only give the partners visibility into what we're doing, but we try to create content. We try to create webinars. We try to leverage white papers and case studies and industry analyst reviews and things like that would be important or topical for end users, that they would really, end users would feel the messages resonate. And in doing so, we give our partners about a 6-month visibility into what our marketing calendar is looking like and what activities we're doing and what vertical markets we may be focused on. So I think that helps to amplify the message, and really it takes some of the responsibility of creating content off of the plate to a certain degree, because I agree it's got to be interesting to your audience. It's got to resonate. It's got to be something that leaves them coming back for more, or when they see that email or the blog or whatever, they'll say, oh, that's from somebody who is a reliable source. I've gotten other interesting content for, so I'm at least going to click through on what it is to see what they're offering me this time.
Those are all good points. I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll here, and then I have another poll. And since, Don, you're sponsoring these, thank you so much. We really appreciate your support. I'm going to ask the question of the audience. Are you interested in learning more about Acumatica and the benefits of becoming a partner, adding Acumatica possibly to your portfolio? If you could just take a moment to answer that.
Well, we've got some big news, not us specifically, but there's some big news today. I don't know if everybody's seen this, but it looks like Oracle is purchasing NetSuite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my initial reaction to that is I don't know if Oracle's always had such a fabulous reputation for being real customer or partner friendly, but what I think it means for Acumatica is that we're going to become even more popular for companies to migrate to, especially if they're mid-market customers. So it's kind of interesting times now.
And didn't NetSuite start out as part of Oracle, and then they branched off?
Yeah,
I think that Larry Ellison always owned a portion of NetSuite, or started NetSuite.
he was one of the founders, and according to the information that's coming out today, he and his family own about 45%. And I think the sale is over $1 billion, or $9 billion.
Oh, yeah, 9.3.
Yep, 9.3. And it seems like that's a 19% premium over what the going price should have been. So very interesting. He just became wealthier today.
If that's
amazing.
possible.
Right?
He owns islands.
Well, the one thing I can say is at least, especially Adrian, you know this, you and I have been attending the SAGE Summit the last couple of days here, and it's just so nice and refreshing to hear people say that they've really enjoyed the Acumatica relationship, and that Acumatica is always responsive, and we've got a good team, and the product is appropriate and really solid for mid-market. So anybody that's interested, we'd love to talk with you too.
And easy to customize and all those good things. I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll. I see that only 20% of the audience has voted. So if you have a second to vote here, that would be awesome. I'm going to close this one out. And then I have one more exciting poll for the audience. Are we ready for this one? Are you interested in learning more about HubSpot? And if so, we're HubSpot certified partners. We work with Buck. So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about the inbound marketing platform to automate everything that we talked about today, and to help you measure, and measurement is so important, HubSpot can do all of that. So I will reach out to you if you indicate you are interested in learning more about how HubSpot can work for you. And I'm not seeing any questions. I did see that everybody stayed on, so thank you for joining us for this hour. We know that time is hard to come by, especially in the life of an ERP VAR. So we really appreciate you spending it with us.
Yep, I'm too. Everybody there? So thank you very much.
And Don, I'm surprised that you joined us today with all the busyness at SAGE. Are you on the trade show floor right now? Are you still here?
No, I wasn't invited to the trade show floor. But no, yes, I'm still in Chicago, absolutely. But I'm leaving shortly thereafter and heading up to Minnesota tomorrow. So it's going to be fun. But I'll be around next week. So anybody that's interested, we can follow up with. But thanks again for the time today, Adrian. Thanks again for the great event yesterday. And also, thank you for putting the content together. Buck, appreciate it as well.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
I appreciate both of your partnerships. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to close this out and have fun. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.